on the 7th of October, 2023, a day that will be forever seared into our collective memory. Israel found itself under an unprecedented assault. Without warning, enemy combatants unleashed a barrage of rockets, thousands in number, targeting cities and homes without distinction. But the terror didn't end with the rockets. Bypassing security barriers, militants infiltrated Israeli towns. Their mission was very simple. It was a rampage of ruthless cruelty. Innocent civilians, regardless of age or gender, became the targets of unspeakable horrors. From the binding and execution of children to the chilling decapitation of infants, to the tragic silencing of hundreds of young lives at a once joy-filled concert, I should say, the dark shadows of that day stretched long. Yet the torment persisted. Survivors of the initial onslaught, including soldiers, but also women and children, were forcibly taken, dragged to Gaza. They were paraded through the streets, humiliated, beaten, with some clinging desperately to life, others already dead. And with an audacity that defies comprehension, the perpetrators broadcast these acts of barbarity with pride, often accompanied by hashtags, two main hashtags, hashtag Al-Aqsa storm and hashtag alaqsaflood. As we grapple with the magnitude of these events, a pressing question remains: what exactly is Al-Aqsa storm? Jono Vandor, I appreciate you being here with me tonight. I think it is incumbent on us to reach out to the world and speak truth in the face of just sheer evil. That's all I can say. Yeah. Hold on one second, John. That's okay. I tell you, one of the things that is really troubling me is the fact that a lot of the news media stations they're not giving it. I guess in one sense, you know, when I look at what's going on and what I've looked at this week, I recognize that some people probably don't want to watch the things that I've watched. Some people don't want to listen to the things that I've listened to. But in the other sense, I think it's very important that it is conveyed, it is presented to the world. And so one of the things that hit me, let me just do this. I tell you, I didn't mean to cut you off, but one of the things that happened was when it first happened Saturday morning, and by first thing happening Saturday morning, I'm talking about 6:30 a.m. on Saturday morning was when this group came in and they began to fire rockets. If you look at a timeline, and we've got a timeline, many people have published this all over the web. You can track it almost minute by minute. But at 6:30 a.m., rockets, a barrage of rockets, thousands in number, fired from the Gaza Strip into
civilian territories. A hospital at Ashkelon was hit. They are not aiming. They're just firing, hoping and praying that this brings death and destruction. So that's what began at 6:30. And shortly thereafter, there were almost simultaneously, when that attack, the barrage of rockets was going off, what began to happen simultaneously is there were some infiltrators who cut through the barrier and made their way into Israeli territories. Now, this is unknown. This is no one detects this. They're reacting and responding to the onslaught of the rockets and dealing with everything that's going on with that. So these terrorists break into Israel, and they begin to make their way into the towns and kibbutzim around Gaza. And during this time, what they are doing is sneaking into homes, murdering entire families, and none of this, just bits and pieces are known, but later the sheer horror of everything becomes known in full. I've got it. Can I hear him yet?
I think so.
I just want to, can you hear me? Because there were, in the comments they were saying that they weren't able to hear my microphone. Is that coming through now? Can people just let me know if they can hear me or not?
Yeah, let Jono know if you hear him.
Can you hear him?
Because I want to weigh in on this. And do we have audio?
I'm just waiting on someone to let us know.
Yeah. Let us know in the comments if you can or you cannot hear me.
I've got a repeat. You can hear Jono now, but it's low.
Okay.
Okay. Now they hear him.
Okay. All right. Okay, I'm back. Okay, good. There is this is a historic horror. It is just absolutely tragic. The incredible violence. Israel is in shock. We're in shock. Ross, you spent some time looking at these hashtags that you were talking about.
Yeah.
And it put you into a rare a mood that I hadn't really seen before. And as I mentioned before, when people couldn't hear me, that when you dwell on these things, it causes you, or it causes me to shake and to be.
I was the same way. Yeah.
Overwhelmed and beside myself. And will you allow me just to convey the news that I woke up to? It's quite graphic. It's quite violent.
Yeah, please do.
You want me to do that?
Yeah.
So as soon as I wake up over the last few days, obviously I go straight to a news feed that I've been following that gives updates by the minute. And one of the things that it reported on was the confirmation of one of these horrible, horrible acts. And you've touched on the fact that they have murdered children, babies, and women and children, elderly, and so on and so forth, whole families in the most horrific of ways. One of these that was reported on this morning, and people may well be aware of, but I just want to touch on it so that if you're not aware, you need to understand the barbarity that is, the barbarism that is occurring from these violent people, humans. And that is that they discovered a woman shot in the back. Apparently 70% of the victims were shot in the back. She was lying face down, and as they turned her over, they discovered that she was pregnant.
Oh my God.
And that they had ripped the baby from her body and stabbed it. And this is that's one of the more violent and atrocities that has occurred, but it's certainly not isolated. We've all heard about Stories like whole families being tied together and set alight, babies being beheaded and children being beheaded and shot in the head and so on and so forth, set alight. And we've heard about the rapes.
Yeah.
And there is mixed feelings about telling these stories and showing the images. But we are at a point, I think, that this needs to be talked about in graphic language, and it needs to be shown as evidence, because the world has not got the picture. There are people, as we know, in our own countries, in Australia.
Supposedly in civilized countries. This is what pisses me off. These people are supposed to be civilized people. And I've seen other people say this. We tend to use the word animal. Well, that is not even fair. Most of us have animals that we love and care for. These are savages. What we're talking about is vicious savages. That's right.
Savages. Despicable individuals with a despicable ideology. And they're very, very public about what they're doing. And not only that, but there are people in our own countries that brazenly go out and
let me get that mouse.
Align themselves and celebrate these acts. The acts
and
that I just,
see the comments.
Put into everybody's ears. These cringing, horrible acts. They are out proudly celebrating. We had people outside the Opera House in Sydney chanting, "Gas the Jews, gas the Jews, gas the Jews." These are people that are in our. They're just out there. They're just outside. They're everywhere. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, they're walking about. They're walking about. They're voting for our leaders. Yeah.
They're voting. And not only are they voting, but they're in Parliament. They're in our political system.
Yeah.
People like this.
Let me
go ahead.
Here's a comment from Tracy. There's a fine line. There is a fine line between. Let's see. Let me move this. There's a fine line between seeing the enemy's actions. It's such a tough call. You know, I hear that a lot, but I tell you, there is a fine line, and some of the media, some of the, you know, if you watch in the U.S., if you're watching Fox or CNN, in their defense, they have covered some of this. But let me tell you, Jono, where I really saw it, and it was really, this is what put me in the bad place. If I can do this, Saturday morning on Shabbat, I got up, and as usual, I get ready to go live and teach a class that I've prepared for during the week. And as I get ready and I'm catching up on the news and I realize all this horror has gone on, we didn't know a lot though at first. So just so you, I mean, it was just coming out, but I struggled with should I go live? Well, you certainly don't begin your day Shabbat Shalom, welcome. You know, it was a sick, nauseous feeling, but I went forward a little bit shaken, and then we did a Zoom call afterward where people knew more than I knew, and they were talking about this. But I tell you, where I really saw the brutality, when I really began to learn, was after the class, after the Zoom call. I got a notification on X, on formerly known as Twitter. Elon Musk had shared a tweet from Imam Sayyid Ali Khamenei, the spiritual head ruler of Iran. This is the supreme leader of a country that we think in the West that we can deal with a maniac like this. We think that we can talk to somebody like this and deal with them, and he is posting a video, Jonah. Now, here's what Elon Musk said. He said, this video, it's got a little bar over it so you can't see it, says this video goes against the policy, the rules of X, or however it worded it. In other words, you have to click it saying, I'm okay seeing what this is. And the video is a bunch of young people who are running, now we know, for their lives, and very few of them made it. But they're running. And here's what Elon Musk said. I'm going to read this to you. Elon Musk says about the tweet that he's covered to protect Western civilized sensibilities. Khomeini's official position is clear that the eradication of Israel is the actual goal, not just supporting. In other words, he really wants to destroy Israel. So Elon Musk gets that clear. And then the stamp of saying it's a violation of X's rules. Now, I pushed past all that, and I clicked in, and it's a video of these party goers. These people were at a party for peace, and they're running because they're being chased by vehicles with gunmen.
They're being mowed down. Yeah.
They're being mowed down, assassinated, and here's the deal. This is what the religious leader, the spiritual leader of Iran says. God willing. See, this is what really pisses me off. People who use God in acts of atrocious, wicked, evil acts, and they call upon God. God willing, the cancer of the usurper Zionist regime will be eradicated at the hands of the Palestinian people and the resistance forces throughout the region. Now, by the way, I need to say, see, we want to say, here's what we like to think, that this is just a small group. Just a small group, John. It's not all, and I do believe it's not all. But we want to say it's just Hamas. Put that in air quotes. Just Hamas. By the way, the resistance fighters are groups such as the Qassam Brigade, the Hezbollah in the north, and this wicked Hamas, who, by the way, was voted into power over the Palestinian areas.
And not just voted into power, but voted with a substantial majority.
Yeah.
Needs to be reminded. I think something like 86%, if I remember correctly, was voted Hamas into power, which says a lot about the population. It needs to be reminded because a lot of people say, oh, the poor civilians. But who exactly are the civilians and who are the soldiers and who supports them?
Well,
This is a problem that needs to be solved immediately and for all time. Many have been arguing that it should have been done much earlier.
Yeah.
We remember Ari Fuld. You remember Ari?
Absolutely, I remember Ari.
That worked with Israel News Talk Radio, Tamar Yona, and Ari talked about this all the time, saying that we're just not going far enough. We need to stop this problem now before it is too late, because we all know what their intention is, because they state it proudly. They tell everybody that they want to drive us into the sea.
Yeah.
They tell everybody that they want to eradicate every Jew from the land. They want to murder us all, and we need to take Gaza again and restore peace and calm. Years ago, we were talking to Ari, and he said that he would meet with our tour and he would show us, take us to some places to spend some time with us, very kindly. And only months after we talked, he was murdered, stabbed in the back 5 times. by an
Terrorist. A terrorist.
an Arab terrorist, and he died as a result. And here we are, and it seems now that the atrocities the outcry is so great that Israel has to take the measures that Ari was calling for. When it first happened, I was like you. I'm like, oh my goodness, Hamas is throwing rockets again.
Yeah.
Oh my word! This
isn't. It's like it's not new. In fact, some of the party goers, even that did survive, even said, "Yeah, I mean, we heard the alarms and we saw the rockets, but what's so tragic is it's become such a part of life that we've been there
about it. They're indiscriminately firing rockets in every single direction. Over 10% of these rockets land within the borders of Gaza, by the way.
Yeah.
And they go all over the place, and they don't care where it goes. And but Israel has the Iron Dome, an incredible system that shoots that rocket out of the air and minimizes.
Hey, check Jono's sound. I think it sounds garbled to me.
It runs to the bomb shelters, but the concern is not incredibly close. The Iron Dome does a great job.
Here.
And so this wasn't unusual, put it this way. It wasn't unusual that Hamas should be firing rockets. And I thought to myself, no, because I feel terrible telling this, but I'll confess this. When I saw that they were sending rockets, and I thought,
Hold on, Jono. Hold on 1 second. I've got a garbled signal. We're looking at it right now.
Okay.
If my sound is okay, let me pick it up here while we're working on that.
Mm-hmm.
Of those who survived, the concert goers, very few of these survived. But I tell you, when I got into this Twitter feed, and I mentioned that I went and I found this particular feed, and it was these hashtags, Al-Aqsa flood, Al-Aqsa storm. By the way, Khomeini, his is, okay, 1 second. Now they're saying my sound is echoed. Let me just put a note.
I might want to run with this because I think my sound is not. It might be. You might get a better signal if I just drop out for the time being.
All right, I think Jono's good.
Try Jono.
Mm-hmm.
Let's test yours. Yeah, we're working on pieces.
Yeah.
I think Jono's is good.
Jono, you should be good.
Okay. Sound quality both poor. All I can do is move my microphone closer.
Yeah.
Okay.
How's this?
Yeah.
Ross has an echo. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm back. All right. Yeah. No, what I was going to convey, if I can just throw this in, is of course we were looking forward to returning to Israel this November. We were about to leave in a couple of weeks. We were heading to Cairo. We were going to travel through Egypt, up through Jordan on the Tanakh tour, and then on the 12th of November, travel into Israel. And I saw the rockets, and I thought, oh, no, come on. And because of the incredible effectiveness of the Iron Dome, I feel ashamed to say that I was thinking about myself.
Yeah.
I was thinking about not just myself, but everyone on the tour, and returning to Israel and just wanting to be there, and the possibility that the terrorists once again were jeopardizing that. And then, as I learned more about what was continuing to unfold, the horror of the situation and the extent of the terror imposed on innocent civilians in the most despicable and violent way, it was just incredibly overwhelming. We obviously had to make the decision. It became very obvious that this wasn't going to blow over anytime soon, and we had to cancel the tour. God willing, we will revisit a new date for next year. But people were disappointed. People really wanted to get back there, and we were talking to our friends on the ground in Israel, and asking them, are they safe? Are they okay? Is everyone all right? And regardless of where they are, I mean, if you're down south, there's a heightened sense of a threat to security. And if you're up north, like Yoel, for example, I've been keenly watching Yoel Halevi's Facebook, and he's keeping us up to date with what was going on up there. They are fearing an engagement from the north, and that has happened.
Yeah,
and that seems to be escalating.
Rockets.
There's an exchange of rockets with Hezbollah, and also Israel is forced to take out key targets in Syria, because they know that if they're going to deal with Lebanon, well, they have to deal with Syria because they are assisting each other, and that then threatens the possibility of Iran getting directly involved. And of course, Iran's behind this all the way. Things could get out of hand very, very quickly on a major scale.
Yeah.
There is absolutely no way that we would continue with the tour and put people in jeopardy, because the whole region is most unstable now.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to jump in. People, you can let me know if we've got this small glitch taken care of. I think we do. We're doing quite a few different things, so thank you for your patience. But here's the deal. Both of us struggled with making the call. We hoped beyond hope that this was just, I mean, before we knew the details of the brutality of everything, initially it didn't seem, we just figured, like I said, the way that we've looked at this in the past, just like the Israelis are used to living like this. As I was saying, the survivors said, hey, we're used to this, of course we heard this, we heard that, but and then when they realized they were being shot at and ultimately killed, I think what really got me was when I read that quote, I don't think I remember noticing the hashtag initially. I was like everyone else. I was glued to my TV. I was taking notes. And one of the things that I wrote down, as many of you noticed, it was 50 years to the day, October 7th, 1973, the Yom Kippur War. And this is 50 years later on Simchat Torah, though.
Yep.
And they're attacked. And that occupied me, just the wickedness of that. And then, the more I realized as the reports came out, it became very clear that this was very well orchestrated, meaning it was very organized, and they were very well structured in their attack. And then the reports started coming in. Well, by the time I realized, I said, let me just see what this hashtag is. And when I touched that hashtag, Jono, I started with the one by this spiritual leader of Iran, hashtag Al-Aqsa storm.
Al-Aqsa storm, yeah.
And as I looked at that and watched videos, at first I thought I shouldn't see this, and I thought, wait a minute, I have to watch it. I mean, with everything that's going on, and these poor people are going through this, and I can't watch the video. I can watch the video. Besides, meanwhile, the propaganda machine starts to rise in the media and in the streets of Western civilized countries, saying, you know, free Palestine and you know, gas the Jews. I mean, all these horrible, horrible things. But I tell you what it really did for me was, first of all, they wanted to brag about what they were doing. You know, we saw some of the images on
They wanted
TV,
to
but
celebrate.
they
They
were
wanted to celebrate it.
celebrating. There were videos that I watched where they're bringing one of the videos that is in my mind, and this is, look, if you have small children, put, you know, don't let them hear this part. But I'm telling you, the one that got me, really got me, a young girl was in the back of a Jeep and was dead and was nude. And people were beating her as the vehicle drove by. And the fact that I don't care, how can anybody say that anything justifies desecration of a body? I mean, this is the kind of stuff, and that's just one example. You know, it's horrible.
It has to be, and I would encourage, and I hate to have to encourage this, but I would encourage people to look up those hashtags and see these are their hashtags. This is what they are celebrating. They are not trying to hide the fact that they are committing these atrocities. They're very glad that these atrocities are occurring.
Yeah.
They share them, they video them, they share them, they celebrate them. Anybody who celebrates this and anybody who attempts to downplay or make excuses for Hamas is part of the problem. And they're around us. Like you said, they vote in our countries.
Hey, look,
It's alarming.
it
It's
is
very, very alarming.
it really is. Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And we need to understand that the thing that is difficult for us, I think, is that we have a culture that is very forgiving, very willing to understand, very we find it very, very difficult to think that other people don't share similar values. And we see atrocities like this and we think how surely, and we try to reason this in our minds, but the fact of the matter is that they don't think like us. And I think we need to come to grips with that. And I think you came to grips with that when you really did torture yourself spending hours on these hashtags and looking at what they themselves proclaim to be, what they celebrate, what they want.
Yeah, when the leader of Iran, the one that governments, remember this, the one that governments want to deal with, when this leader, an imam, is saying things like, when oppression, this is his excuse. And this, by the way, goes toward what all of these people who are chanting these horrible things, their conception is that the Jewish people have oppressed and locked down the Palestinians. And here's what Khamenei says: when oppression and criminality exceed all limits, and when brutality comes to a peak, one should expect a storm. Hence, Al-Aqsa storm. So what all of the Arab nations, I don't know if I can say all. I do know that I've read considerable number of Arab nations are chanting in approval of this. Now again, that doesn't mean all Arabs. I know some wonderful Arabs. I have friends that are Palestinian that I've come to know in the land of Israel. And I would not think that any of them would approve of any of this. But what is so bad is that we are seeing an alarming rate of people who are supporting this. And they're chanting in Egypt. I think one of the scenes that I saw is Major They were lighting up in honor of the Palestinian flag, the colors of the Palestinian flag and all,
Mm,
in honor of the work that they're doing. The work
mm,
that they're doing,
mm,
Jono. Here are a
mm.
couple of the quotes. Let me just give you a couple of these.
Go ahead.
So almost right after it happened, an Al-Qassam brigade spokesman by the name of Abu Ada said, "We achieved more than we planned and expected in the Al-Aqsa operation. Point number 2, we attacked the enemy's army troops at Gaza at 15 points." By the way, this is why I'm reading on the Arab channel. This is what they're saying. In addition to 10 other military points, after the start of the operation, we launched 3,500 rockets at places around Gaza and 1,000 rockets at places occupied in 1948. We made comprehensive plans. We trained 3,000 fighters, Jono, for the operation, and 1,500 fighters were on standby for support operation. This is not, anyway, I'll get to that in a minute. We herald victory for the Islamic Ummah. We say to the enemy, if you dare to enter Gaza by land, we will crush your army. Over the past year, we've deceived Israel from an intelligence point of view. We managed to conceal our intentions, our training, and our steps before the operation. And here's his last point. Let's see, what was his name again? Abu Ada says, "My fellow prisoners should not worry. We will have them free." So they're boasting and bragging. Now, a couple more quotes, Jono, and then I want you to fire back and give me your thoughts. Here's some more from Khomeini. He says, Al-Aqsa storm was both a courageous and self-sacrificing move by the Palestinians. No, he never uses, by the way, just to make this point, he never uses the word Hamas. It was a response to crimes that have continued for years and increased in recent months. The culprit responsible for this situation is the current administration ruling the Zionist usurper regime. We praise the minds and efforts of the resourceful, intelligent designers of Al-Aqsa storm and the Palestinian youth. We're proud of them. But those who nonsensically say that the recent epic was carried out by non-Palestinians have miscalculated the matter. I would say, this is one of my final quotes that I'll read in this string. I would say that after Saturday, October the 7th, the Zionist regime will no longer be the regime it used to be, and they cannot easily compensate for the blow that has struck them. And here's the threat from Iraq. Hadi al-Ameri, general of Iraq's Badr organization and one of the soldiers of General Qassam Soleimani, says if Washington intervenes in the battle between the Zionist regime and Palestine, we will target all American targets. All right? So what we're seeing now is not only a justification. Here's what we ought to know. We want to know. I want to know from people who say what I believe. What I believe is that there are good and bad people in every group of people, right? But when we ask, do you support what happened? You know, some of these interviewers, some of these YouTube people that are going out interviewing at places like where you saw the march in Sydney where they're saying gas the Jews. You have a young guy interviewing people and saying, do you support that? And hey, you know, things happen. No, not things happen. A baby's heads are being decapitated. Do you agree with that? And these people are saying they had it coming to them.
There
It's
was a
unbelievable.
news reporter, and I don't know, I'm not too sure from what agency this news reporter came, but she was following Rashida Tlaib down the hall to an elevator. She was rushing to get away from this journalist, and the journalist kept asking her those questions. Do you side with Hamas? Do you agree that the decapitation of children, do you think she was asking, and she would not answer the question because she cannot answer the question. She's dug herself into.
Well, she knows the answer in her mind. She
knows
knows
the answer, but she
Oh
can't
yeah.
say it, and she won't say it. There are people like this. We have to acknowledge that there are people like this.
We have it comes down, Jonah, when we talk about types of people. It's not a race or an ethnic thing. It's really, in my view, you have some people who praise death. You have some people who cherish life. The Jewish slogan, l'chaim, it's to life. And this worldview, like when you talk, here's what gets me: this Palestinian cause, the pay for slay. I mean, in times past,
which resulted in the Taylor Force Act,
exactly.
Which is still being ignored. The Palestinians are paying people for their acts of terrorism, and they're naming their buildings and sporting arenas and so forth, and after the perpetrators of these acts of terrorism, and they don't care. They don't care.
Yeah.
They do not care.
Yeah.
And we continue to fund them from all around the world, thinking that they're actually going to spend money on worthy things, because we make the mistake and we just cannot fully comprehend that there are people that don't think like us. And I hear what you're saying when you say that we're not talking about a race and so on and so forth, but we have to understand, once again, a majority, when Hamas was voted in,
who voted for him? Yeah.
A majority of them, a vast majority of Arabs voted them in Judea and Samaria. Massive celebrations by the Arab populations there. And yes, maybe we can say, and we'd like to throw into the mix, well, maybe not every single Arab, maybe there are Arabs who do love life and don't celebrate death, as Hamas are always reminding us that they celebrate death.
Yeah.
And martyrdom. Maybe there are, but it is upon them to oppose the regime. And yes, it may cost their life, it may be dangerous, but by not doing so, they pass that danger on to Israel, and that is what has happened. So they're passively complicit, I suppose you could say, if there are such people in the Gaza Strip.
Yeah.
It's too late for them. It's too, as Netanyahu said, this is going to be an all-out war. We're going to have to go in there. It's not going to be clean. And I see among the news this morning reports from agencies saying, "Oh, look, Israel has been reported to have used phosphorus bombs in against Hezbollah."
Yeah.
If you have a war front in the south, and all of a sudden the north decide it's a good idea to weigh in, use whatever you have. Use whatever you damn well have.
Yeah.
If I had a neighbor that suddenly decided that he wanted to attack me and my family, and then I go to defend myself against this neighbor who has instigated the attack, and then all of a sudden my other neighbor decides, oh, this is good. Well, while you're busy doing that, trying to defend your family, I'm going to attack from this side. Anything that you have available to you to put an end to this is absolutely permissible in my view, because it's not on you. It's on the neighbor that started it. And now it's on him that weighed in on the situation. It's not even just that. It combined with the immense barbarism that has been committed.
It comes down
there
to
are
this.
No rules that need to be abided by now.
Yeah. I mean, well, it comes down to this. It comes down to this. When someone defends this response, as they call it, but this unprovoked attack by Hamas, okay? If someone defends that, I am curious I want to ask them, but here's the problem, Jono. I'm seeing on videos where people are putting a microphone in someone's face and say, is it okay at any reason, for someone to rape, forcibly rape until they are bleeding? I mean, this is in the videos, Jono. I know it's graphic. I'm sorry, but here's the deal. When they are so brutally abused, I mean, this goes on and on and on, and these people are dragged. They're in captivity. Some of the videos, by the way, are of the captives, some of the ones that I've watched. There's one particular video where a bunch of females, God only knows what these warriors for Allah did to them. They're all huddled into this dark room. The only light passing by them is probably from the phone camera. The fear in their eyes. And I'm watching this, and meanwhile, people are in the street passing out candy. I mean, come on. I mean, and so when
this is my point. This is my point. If there are the good ones among the population of terrorists, if they haven't separated themselves from these people by now,
yeah,
it's on them. And everything that happens to Lebanon, who decided it was a good idea to get involved, it's on Hamas and it's on Hezbollah.
yeah.
It's on the people. If they, I mean, it's not as if you mean we're governed by a terrorist organization? I haven't been reading the papers. They fully know.
Yeah.
They know. If they don't like it, they should have separated themselves from these people by now.
Yeah.
It's not going to be clean. Civilians are going to get wrapped up in this. And what exactly is a civilian, Ross?
Well,
really,
that's a good question. If you're firing rockets from a doctor's office in the Gaza Strip, you know, I mean, and I know that people are saying, oh, the Israelis are striking, you know, innocent non-combatants. Meanwhile, they have over 170 prisoners of war. One of the videos, I'm not getting into all the gross stuff, but I'll tell you one video I saw today. I've spent a lot of time in the Negev, and one of the things that you see, you and I have seen, the Israelis bring in Thai workers from Thailand who work the dates and so forth. Well, some of those who were captured is shown in the videos, and one of the comments from one of the supporters of this war against the Zionist regime, some of the supporters of that war said, hey, what's with the Chinese Jews? And someone answered and said, oh, the Chinese Jews are actually members of the lost tribes, and I'm thinking, no, they're Thai workers who got pulled into this, who are young, they're terrified, and they're being brought into this, can you imagine? They get like a short visa to come work and better their life, and they get caught up in this wicked as hell war, this jihad. And look, and that's the other thing, Jonah, and I'll get a little bit into this. Right now, people are trying to academically define jihad. Now, I'm not, I love languages. So I got pulled into this rabbit trail a little bit. And some who are trying to say, well, because I'm going to tell you in a minute, there is a threat on the table right now for Friday the 13th to unleash a jihad all around the world. And so
I'm already in that. It's Friday the 13th here. We're obviously in the future here in Australia. So, and I fully expect we'll be reading about this in the news, and no doubt there'll be things that go on there. And we'll find out what happens in Israel. Continue.
Yeah, and so when I saw this, they immediately want to backpedal and say, well, he's not really calling on violence. You know, jihad can mean the struggle, and and it's this and it's that, and it really, he's just calling on people to march. Well, I have his comments in just a minute, but I just want to say that I hope that there are plenty of Arabs who stand against this violence. But I tell you
Well,
what, it's
they
going
need
to
to
be
stand up and
hard.
say so.
It's going to be
Now's the
hard.
time to identify yourself and stand up and speak against what's happened. If you're an Arab, that Christian or Muslim, if you're an Arab, now is the time to stand up and say, do not celebrate this. This does not represent me. I find this abhorrent. I find this absolutely horrific. This is terrorism through and through. If they're not standing up and doing that and making themselves known in that light,
Yeah.
and meanwhile we have Arabs outside the opera house chanting "Gas the Jews."
But it's not only Arabs, at least in the U.S. In the U.S., it's there's a lot of people who just think that it's the thing to say. Most of them are just ignorant; they don't know.
By the way, and there was a discussion in the comments about this. The intersectionality crowd, right? All the groups that support, quote unquote, support Palestine and are rallying to support them now, even in the face of what we know, like Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter were quick to get on that train.
Yep.
And now we're seeing them in their real light, and people are going, "Oh, hang on a minute, what is it?" Because it's not about what you think it's about.
Yeah.
What do these have in common? Listen, what I'd really like to encourage people to do, because I found it very concise and helpful, is go to Ben Shapiro's podcast.
Yeah.
The last 4 days of Ben Shapiro's podcast. If you haven't done that already, you really need to do that, because it's been difficult to watch, but it is clarifying, extremely clarifying, and as usual, he articulates the situation in ways that I wish I could. I really do highly recommend that people do that. And another podcast or video that we highly recommend, and you brought this to my attention, and I mentioned her before, Tamar Yona, who's there, Israel News Talk Radio. Tamar went on in the middle of the night, watching these atrocities unfold and getting the inside information before they even hit the press.
Yeah.
And she went live and talked about this. It was just a quick half hour. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that, Ross.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, I mean, I know you have a really good relationship with Tamar, and I do as well, because we worked for her, but do you think that I could get her maybe? Do you think she'd be willing? I know we have to ask, but I think she probably would. She'd come on and talk.
And no doubt she's very busy giving interviews, and I know she would absolutely be willing to discuss these things with us.
I need to talk with her,
get
because
some of her time.
So
let's see if we can make that happen.
Yeah, I think it would really be helpful. She is a woman, a husband, a wife, a grandmother, a mother, and she presents with clarity.
Her husband, a rabbi, Rabbi David there.
Yeah.
In Samaria, I think, Judea, Samaria. They're in the thick of it, and I don't want to give away her location, so.
Yeah, well, let me pick up. Let me say. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about this jihad that has been called for, and there is a concept, a mujahideen, which it means, and I'm not an expert. I've looked all this up in reputable sources. And one of the things it says is that it's one who practices jihad. And I have to ask, is it acceptable? In other words, if I were to, and I have my copy of the Quran, which I have read. I mean, I've read the Quran. I'm not an expert by any stretch. But mine is marked, and I have quite a bit. And I don't know, maybe I've missed it. I'd like for somebody to tell me where it says that it's okay to decapitate people, where it says that it's okay to brutally rape your young captives. I mean,
where does it say it's okay to rip a baby out of an innocent woman?
Where does it say, Jono, to take women and people of a community, 85-year-old woman, take her off her oxygen, put her on a motorcycle, and drive her into Gaza and put her in a cell. Where is that okay? Is that in the Quran, or is it a hadith? What is? I mean, I don't know. Tell me. I want somebody to tell me, is that approved? Maybe it is, because here's what I've been told, Jono. I've been told that this is a religion of peace, and I want to believe that. I really do. And so if I want to separate and I want to say, well, the religion is peaceful, but this is, these are fanatics. That's what I want to believe. That's what I want to believe. But I don't know. I need some help. I need some clarity, because here's what clarity looks like to me. Clarity looks like somebody making a stand and saying that is wicked as hell and it should be opposed. And people that don't have the spine to say it, man, I'm sorry. Our world, we are at a place right now. I am. I'm telling you right now, there is a line in the sand. There is a line in the sand. And that line says you're either for what took place on October 7th or you're not. And if you're not, and you're not saying it, I don't know what I think about you. And it is disgusting. And I tell you, one of the things that I'm reading, before I sidetrack myself, get ready, Jono. This says this is the warning that's going out. The National Security Council and Foreign Ministry called on Thursday for Israelis around the world to stay vigilant on Hamas's call for an international day of rage on Friday. A day of rage. Doesn't sound like it's advancing peace to me, but what the hell do I know? Friday, the day of jihad, Friday is called Al-Aqsa flood and Al-Aqsa storm. It's as if everything is leading towards this. Now, when I hear Al-Aqsa, and I'm looking at an attack on Israelis, I'm thinking of the Temple Mount, and Al-Aqsa Mosque, people, anyway. So this message was delivered by a political leader whose name is Khalid Mashal. And Khalid Mashal is a former leader of the political wing of Hamas, 1996 to 2017. He's currently exiled in Qatar. So, but he has a job there. I mean, he's still, a card-carrying member of Hamas. And his new job is the leader of the diaspora. Okay? So let me pull up what he said. And maybe I'm just reading more into this. Maybe he means something peaceful. Here he goes. I call on you, me being included as well, and we are all responsible for this, to start with the things we are used to, but with a higher ceiling. First of all, for anger. Got to raise that anger, raise it up. To head to the squares and streets of the Arab and Islamic world on Friday, the Friday of Al-Aqsa flood. Deliver a message through the squares and the streets, a message of anger that we are with Palestine, that we are with Gaza, with Al-Aqsa, with Jerusalem, and that we are part of this battle. This is first, he says. Second, Gaza is calling you for help with relief and money. Whatever you own, whoever can help. This is the moment of truth. What should we answer? We are facing truth, and here I say clearly, without hesitation, this is the moment for the nation to join in the fight, to fight with them. I call firstly the surrounding countries, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, Egypt, all of its sons and daughters, officially and popularly. Your duty is bigger because you are closer to Palestine. See, he's calling the Arab nations, this is Ross, to join the fight, all right? Tribes of Jordan, sons of Jordan, brothers and sisters of Jordan from all of your sides and backgrounds. This is a moment of truth, and the borders are close to you. You all know your responsibility, and this applies to all nations. He's not finished, Jono. To all scholars who teach jihad for the sake of God and who preach the fighters and martyrs. To all who teach and learn, this is a moment of application of theories so that the words are not just words. Now, he's probably just joking. No, he's not. I mean, this is not calling for, in fact, he counters the idea that this is some kind of textbook. He's saying, you people that are close, you've got the first priority. Go help. Now, we're already seeing rockets fired from the north. The country was reeling from the south. Now, what's going to happen, and we all know this, that every person who is chanting "gas the Jews" is claiming that every bit of this is justified and they're right and they're doing it. And, oh, Israel, you need to take it easy. Man, it is... I'm beyond
everything that happens in and look, what should happen. Let me read what Samuel decided should happen. He said to the king of Agag, "Are we going to go there? I'm going to go there." He said, "As your sword has bereaved women, so shall your mother be bereaved among women." And then he proceeded to put him to death.
Yeah.
This, I think, is what needs to happen. Those who Hamas are responsible for this. I'll tell you what, you got to pull the brakes on the kind of language that I want to use. I keep having to.
Believe me, I am on very calm right now. I'm with you.
I had a friend say who doesn't know that much about the situation. They're not so up on Israeli-Palestinian conflict and all that sort of stuff. And when they heard about some of the atrocities that had occurred, they said, "Oh, they should do the same thing to them." And I said, "No, they shouldn't, because Israel doesn't commit these kind of atrocities.
That's right.
They don't do that. They don't rape the women. They don't tear the heads off the babies. They don't rip the babies out of pregnant women. They don't shoot the old people at the bus stops. They don't do these things."
Yeah.
And they shouldn't lower themselves to do these things. But what they should do is those who have decided that it is their mission to, as Samuel says,
bereave,
as your sword has bereaved women, to take the children from the women, then the right thing to do is to take those men and deal with them in the same way.
Yeah.
They need to go all out, and the bloodshed is upon Hamas. You can't blame Israel for having to go in and go hard.
No.
That is absolutely on Hamas. You can't blame Israel for having to go in and go hard on Lebanon and Hezbollah. That is on Hamas, and that is on Hezbollah.
Yeah.
Any civilians that get wrapped up in this, it's not Israel's fault. It is Hamas, it is Hezbollah, and anyone else that would champion what has happened and defend what has happened and celebrate what has happened. They are part of the problem.
Yeah, look at here. Here's something. Let me put this one. Somebody caught it. Orson Zed makes the comment, but Israel is okay cutting the power and the water to
damn straight.
You damn straight. And let me tell you why. I tell you why. Because it is Israel who provides all of the water and electricity to the people of Gaza and the people of the West. Yes, I mean they. And so, but when this goes on, whenever rockets are fired to the degree that they were, 5,000, and the Arab world is clapping and cheering and saying, "Let's kill the Zionists, let's kill the Jews," and then you say, "Well, I tell you what, you won't do it with electricity. You won't do it with us providing you the electricity and the water."
No electricity, no fuel.
Get your own water.
No food that comes through the border. And you've got to ask yourself, over the decades that they've been there, why is it that they don't have these things? Is it because they can't produce these things by themselves? Is it because they can't take advantage of the rain when they have it, or the aquifers that are available to them? Because there are natural springs. Why can't they take advantage?
I'll
And the
tell you
reason
why.
is because they go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You go ahead, and I'll tell you
Well,
why I think. I
because
tell
they
you,
redirect all of the money. They don't care about the people at all. They redirect all their funds into terrorism.
that's
This
right.
is what they do. And it's not even, this is what they say they do. Not only
Yeah.
that, but we have video of them doing it.
Look,
They've had pipes donated to them, and they take those pipes that are meant for the people and putting in infrastructure for clean water supply, and they turn them into missiles and
yeah,
fire them off indiscriminately into Israel.
yeah, no,
They've done this to themselves.
yeah.
Why should, I'm sorry to interrupt, but why should Israel supply them with free electricity, supply them with free water? Why should they supply people with this ideology that are brainwashed from birth to absolutely desire the bloodshed of Jews? Why should they give them for free these things that they should be able to take care of themselves and look after their own people?
look.
They're on the Mediterranean, for Pete's sake. They should be a tourist destination,
Yeah,
but they're not, because they don't care. They do not care. They have natural resources. They should be able to take care. If only they would leave Israel alone and look after their own people. As it's not as if, the bleeding heart leftists aren't pumping money into Gaza. Where's that money going? It's going into the pockets of Hezbollah, and they're using it to
Hamas. Yeah,
produce missiles.
yeah. Look, we at one point, not too long ago, America said, "I tell you what we're not going to do is pump millions of dollars into a terrorist organization run area. We're not going to give our money through the UN or any other means. You're not getting any money until you do this. Here's what you have to do. This is it, Jono. You have to stop killing Jews. You have to stop teaching your children to kill Jews in your textbooks. Like, that's something you got to do. You got to quit telling your kids this is racism. You talk about racism, they're using stuff that is unbelievable to teach their kids to hate Jews. Now, not only that, when you do have a nut job who kills Jews, you can't name a gymnasium or a clinic after this asshole. And they continue to do it. And so we, for a long time, said, we're not giving you any more money. And then we said, not too long ago, Jono, we said, you know what? We have to give them their money. Now, I'm saying, why? All they have to do is say, we're not going to pay. And here's the other thing. Let's say that one of these people, a terrorist, kills a certain number of Jews. They then put that person's family, if he gets eliminated by the Zionists, then his family draws money forever and ever and ever. It's called pay for slay. So you incentivize wicked acts like this, and that's what happens. So that it's a culture that breeds hostility, and so, but we had stopped doing that, and then we said, no, we have to give them the money. So we dumped hundreds of millions of dollars back on them. And then, the other thing, the whole Iran deal and all that. Look, these people are burning Israeli and U.S. flags in the street, and they're saying things like, I think we're the big Satan and they're the little Satan.
They can't be any more blatant, Ross. They can't be any more blatant and brazen about who they are and what they stand for. It's amazing, and yet we have this cognitive dissonance where we just cannot accept that there are ideologies and people that are brainwashed in those ideologies that produce vile, violent individuals.
Yeah.
We need to accept that that's a possibility, that it is a fact, that it has happened, and we have to cut off funds. We vote for idiots, do we not?
I
have
swear.
to cut off all funding at a minimum.
Well,
and
yeah.
And we have to figure out write to the members of parliament and say, how is it that we allow people to, isn't it amazing? I mentioned intersectionality before, the desperate attempt by the media to find some sort of connection to some sort of white supremacism that they can then sort of link to some sort of right-leaning, there's this over the last few years a desperate attempt to find such examples. It's here. I'm sure it's there as well. But now you have this, which is, as I said, it's as blatant as can be. It's absolutely racist. It's absolutely determined to perpetuate genocide and so on and so forth. This is Nazism and ISIS combined.
Yeah.
And they're parading in the streets, celebrating rape and mutilation and torture and the death of infants and so on and so forth. They're making no qualms about it at all.
Yeah.
And now the press that have been looking for some sort of white supremacist that they can make an example of, they have this. Where are they? Are they there? They need to go real hard on this, and we need to put the pressure on our politicians to make an example of these people and weed them out and do something about that.
Yeah. I tell you, and believe me, I am not advocating any particular politician. I'm really not. I tell you what I am doing. I am, for several years now, if people didn't say what the approved things that you were allowed to say, if you said anything else, you were shut down. And people would automatically just throw you in a category. But other people can say whatever the hell they want. Well, I'm at the place where I'm tired. I tell you, I really, the older I get, the more I enjoy freedom. And what I want to do is I want to be able to speak
value
the
freedom.
truth, and I have values. And I tell you, I think that murdering of these people in these southern towns around, I think that they're still being held captive, and people are saying, well, why aren't you turning our electricity back on? Do you really think that that's a legitimate question when you have raped and beheaded babies? And I mean, is that,
and again, that's not
how
on Israel,
in the
that's on
world is that
Hamas.
right?
The electricity is off, the water is off, the fuel is off, the food is off. That's on Hamas. It's not on Israel.
Yeah.
That's on Hamas. Israel is not. It's not on Israel to sustain its enemy. It's not. It's not.
Yeah.
They should go hard. They should continue to besiege Gaza. And when they are weak, that is when they send the troops in and they take over the place. That's what needs to happen.
Well, I tell you, it's yeah. Go ahead, Jonah.
I just back to what you were saying before. I think we should see if we can get hold of Tamar, and if she has any time that she can possibly spare us, and we can talk about this in more detail, because nobody knows this like she does. And I strongly, again, I shared it to my Facebook page. You shared it to your Facebook page. It is on her Facebook page. Tamar Yona, go there. It's just a live Zoom that she did in the middle of the night. It's about a half hour long. Watch it.
We'll put the link, by the way. We'll put the link in this video description. And I tell you, a lot of people are frustrated. A lot of people are angry, and we should be. We should be. And I tell you, I haven't, and I talked to several friends. It is very difficult for people to go about life as normal. You know what I mean? I don't even know what that means right now. In fact, we were not intending last week to talk about this subject today. And next Saturday, I had every intention of teaching a Bible series that I'm working on. But that's not what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to be doing more of this. Quite possibly, though, I'll be coming at this subject from a biblical perspective. I want to talk about things like Amalek. And let me tell you, when you decide that you're not going to put up with any more, and you're going to say as you feel what is wicked, you call wicked, there are people, and I mentioned this the other night in our Zoom, people that were supporting financially because I was not going to sing the party line. They look, I don't care. I deleted people who will not condemn these actions. You can't even condemn this? This is crazy. This is crazy. I'm not going to be part of that.
We've really vented here, and I think people clearly, from watching the comments, Ross, people have vented with us and expressed their their horror at the situation as well. We could go on, but I think we need to bring this to a close, and we will try and get to Mariona. But I'm wondering if you would allow me. I just want to. I think it would be ideal. And speaking of Amalek,
Yeah,
to read Psalm 83. Can I do that?
absolutely do that.
I'm just going to read the beginning and the end of this. It says, "O God, do not be silent. Do not hold aloof. Do not be quiet, O God, for your enemies rage. Your foes assert themselves. They plot craftily against your people. They take counsel against your treasured ones. They say, 'Let us wipe them out as a nation. Israel's name will be mentioned no more.' Unanimous in their council, they have made an alliance against you." And it goes on and talks about that alliance. And of course, it mentions Amalek there, among others. And then in verse 14, it says, "Oh my God, make them like thistledown, like stubble driven in the wind. As a fire burns a forest, as flames scorch the hills, pursue them with your tempest, terrify them with your storm, cover their faces with shame so that they seek your name, O Lord. May they be frustrated and terrified, disgraced and doomed forever." Frustrated, terrified, disgraced, and doomed forever. May they know that your name, yours alone, is the Lord, supreme over all the earth.
Yeah.
I don't doubt that you'll be revisiting that on Saturday in your class.
No, I'm glad you read it, though. It's a great way to, you think about all that we've covered tonight. I mean, we didn't even scratch the surface, but it's not. I'm not watching the comments as closely as I could, but it's not anything that a single politician can fix. This isn't a Democrat versus Republican thing. This isn't this group of people and that group. It comes down to the sons, the children of light and the children of darkness. You're either
It really does.
child of light, I don't care who you vote for, but you probably will vote for people who at least make a stand for how
Yep.
wicked this was.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to
Be as
think about.
proactive as you can in this regard, because believe me, the enemy is too. All right.
One other point, just so people know, Saturday we are going to do more about this vigilance. I want people to pray. I want people to pray. I want people to be watchful. That's why on that screen, Seth came up with that, vigilance. That's the idea. That's the watchword. You need to watch. You need to look out. You need to be vigilant in everything you do. And we need to be vigilant for righteousness. I mean, we ought to be looking at things that are presented to us and speaking up and standing up for things that are righteous.
Yeah.
Vigilance. Now, one thing that I will say is that in the next couple of days, we're going to have 3 prayers. And we're going to post a video because I've been posting these prayers, but I want to post a video to make it easy for people. And they're going to be prayer for the state of Israel. Now, I don't normally pray from a prayer book, Jono, but this last couple of weeks, because I knew that fathers, grandfathers were praying for their children and their grandchildren and their wife and their daughter and their son who were kidnapped or killed, and you know what they're praying for? They're praying for the IDF to restore order. And they're praying, there's also a prayer for the captives, those that are taken into captivity, like these hostages that these savages took, and God knows what's going on. Yeah. We're going to post those prayers, prayer for the state of Israel, prayer for the IDF, and the prayer for those who are in captivity. And I'm going to ask people, hey, log in, check this video out. I'll post about it when it comes up. And we need to pray together and stand up for Israel. Stand up for right. Stand up for right. And stand against wrong. Speak out.
All right.
Jono.
Hopefully we'll be back perhaps with tomorrow. Because this situation isn't going to end anytime soon. But we pray that it does. It doesn't look like it looks like we're in for the long haul. All right, people, like I said, be proactive, be pro-Israel, and be mindful about that. And as Ross said, pray.
Yeah.
See you later.